welcome back to another check-in. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. So I'm actually just about to head up to the gym to get a workout in. We're actually going to be doing a compromised workout where you might be in a scenario and you've got access to a hotel gym, maybe you're traveling, or maybe your gym doesn't have a good variety of equipment. So I've got my brand new Miss Bikini Olympia Part 5 program mapped out and ready to go. So that's the program that we're going to go through today. But I've just sat down on my noob computer screen. Sorry, my current screen, if you take a look over here, you can see he's just sitting here all alone. It had a little accident, so I've got to get it repaired. So I've been using my 60-inch TV screen from my computer for the last week. But anyway, it's serving a purpose. I just mapped out my fat loss. So I just wanted to see, okay, if I were to start my prep this week based on my current weight, which I took my weight this morning, it has been so long since I've been on the scale. And I was surprised, but I guess it's a good thing given the timeframes that I have till my first anticipated show. So I was doing a bit of digging last weekend at the different bikini pro shows that are available, and there are so many. But the first one that I want to do would be comfortable if it was in the state of Florida, where I live, so I don't have to worry about flights and travel and things like that. And obviously for you guys watching, you've probably seen that we've been hard at work, building our app. So things are really busy at the moment. So the, less interruptions, the better. So the first show that I want to do is in Orlando, and it's the Girl Power show. So I've never done this one. I was going to do it last year, ended up changing my mind doing the Pittsburgh Pro. So if we have a look on the screen, I've got that mapped out. So Girl Power is on the 26th of April. So if we come back to where we are now, I'll highlight the week for you. So this is where we're at. What's the date today? The 19th. So assuming I started my prep perhaps tomorrow, I would be about 13 weeks dieting until the Girl Power show. So if we come across and have a look in this column F here, you can see I'd be starting at about 136 pounds. And then working my way down to about 130. And I think that'll be a little bit lighter than what I was last time on stage. And here's why. So I have been doing such little volume on my legs. Sorry, my legs. Such little volume on my back and on my chest. Like it's almost sad. Like I have to admit, training this way has been interesting. I can't say that I've loved it. But it serves a purpose. Obviously, I'm not going to be a bikini competitor forever, but if I'm going to give this a red hot crack, I need to do what I know I need to do from my body type to be competitive. So I've had to take out so much chest and back volume. And to be honest, like I love training those muscle groups. So training has not been as enjoyable. So I will be really excited to get past all this and train again the way that I love. So it's temporary. But I think that I've probably lost a little bit of muscle in those areas, thankfully, and I might have regained a little bit more in my upper glute, which I've been literally busting. I just pulled up. This is where I basically create all of our programs first. We're actually working on building a platform for our app where I can enter in things like straight into the app. But anyway, this is what we're looking at. So you can see here, I've got all of the muscles kind of highlighted over here. So glutes, quads, hamstrings, calves, back, shoulders, and I divide that into 3 areas: chest, biceps, triceps, and core. You can see here for my glutes, I'm trying to hit a pretty high volume, but just between you and I guess probably 3/4 of that volume is going to be coming from my glute medius. As we move down, my shoulders are getting the next biggest hit, so 27 sets per week. And again, I try to do that relatively symmetrically, so 9 sets across each. I could potentially bring that volume up. But right now, I think just to keep my shoulders healthy, it's about the maximum that I think I can do without, compromising my shoulder health. Quads and hamstrings are equally, displaced in this program. I've got 15 sets of each per week. I don't want to grow my quads and my hamstrings too much. So to me, this is probably a volume where I might still get a little bit of growth, but it's certainly nowhere near where I would if I was programming it as a focused muscle group. So that's kind of the lay of the land, but I also wanted to show you guys the app. You won't have seen this online yet. We're still going through the final beta testing phase. So this is the brand new BFit 2.0. So some of you might have already previously used the original app. We actually took that down. Obviously, you guys know that story. But let me go ahead and pull this up. All right, so you can see here, we've got our home page. We're still working on some of the designs here at the moment, so you can ignore some of these images. So I've got my Miss Bikini Olympia program, and I'm gonna continue. Let's go back in and have a look here. So this is the general layout of the app. So if I tap up the top here, you can kind of see like week 1 through to week 6. Most of my programs are generally week 6. 6 weeks, and then you can also plan which days of the week you'd like to have your programs. I've kind of put mine predominantly on the weekends. But yeah, we've got all of our exercise demonstrations. You can replace the exercise, so just by tapping on the button here. I think many of you might have seen this in the previous app. You can then choose an alternative. If you are in a scenario where you haven't got access to as many pieces of equipment, it'll choose the most appropriate exercises for you. When we go into the exercise, you can see here we've got a place for you to obviously enter in all of your details. It'll track your volume for you down the bottom, so I'll just put in a little example here so you can see what I mean. What's a realistic lunge weight for Holly? Probably 120. So you can see down the bottom here, it actually kind of nicely tracks that volume for you. So yeah, I'm really excited about the app. It has a lot of awesome features. So if we close out of this, we'll go over and have a look at the analytics section. And see, I've been tracking my weight just for practice data. We go over to volume. I know I haven't done any of this program yet, but I'll swipe across and show you another program where I have tracked volume. So you can see here on the screen, it kind of divides it into lower body and upper body. And you can see exactly how many sets you're doing each week, which is really important if you're somebody that's wanting to optimize your muscle growth. So we've also got a community feature where anybody that joins our app or signs up to any of our challenges, you'll be able to communicate with one another. I've also really loved this feature in our last lot of challenges, so I'm really excited. So I've also got all of my recipes in the library as well. You'll get comprehensive access to all of my past work in the app, which is fantastic. So I guess we can head on upstairs. I'm going to do a physique update in a moment as well. We'll go and check out, like, I guess I'll put on my bikini and we'll kind of go through and compare to like which areas I think I need to work on and point out some of the subtle differences with some of the other pros and kind of who I'm trying to imitate basically, because these are the people that are doing really well as bikini pros. So we'll head upstairs, get a training session in, and then I'll do my posing at the end. After much delay, I am logged in. I'm doing day 3 of this new program. So it's primarily a glute, quad, shoulder, hamstring workout today. So none of my programs are ever going to be like full lower body on their own or full upper body, just because, well, number one, I don't have enough upper body exercises to complete or round out a nice program. So I'm going to read out what we're going to be doing. So first off, we have a cable bent knee glute kickback. Second exercise is going to be a standing single leg hip abduction. This is going to be replaced with a different exercise here, which again, I'll show you how to do in the app. Forward leaning hip abduction. So we've got 2 glute medius in here, 1 glute maximus. Then we're moving down to a cross dumbbell step up. Then we're doing dumbbell straddle squats. Seated hamstring curl. I'm going to replace that with a prone hamstring curl just because this facility doesn't have a seated. I actually really like the way that I've gotten this exercise here to work, actually. First off, I hated it because I didn't feel like it gave me good range of motion, but I've got a hack that I'll share with you today. We've got a dumbbell kneeling dumbbell lateral raise, bench supported dumbbell lateral raise, so 2 medial and a little bit of rear, and then a front plate raise. So 9 exercises in total. We're gonna go through, we'll see what my volume clocks out at the end. I'll show you that, but let's get started. Starting out with our cable bed knee kickback. I'm gonna use this cable and I'm gonna use this cable attachment. This is by far my favorite. I mean, I've used all kinds. Most of them don't have this little heel strap. This just keeps it positioned on your foot a little bit better. So if I come in here, now when I kick away, it doesn't slide up my leg or rub on my shins. So it is a much more comfortable experience. So let's go over and get set up. So as far as the table tower, oh my God, this has been my dyslexia. The cable tower height, I usually have it like mid shin height. And I do that just to make sure that the like torque is not pulling on like my knee. I used to do it with the cable tower like right at the bottom, and I just felt like my knee wasn't very stable and it was really uncomfortable. So make sure that you bring that up so that it's just mid shin height. And then I usually get something else to hang on to so that I'm stable on either side, but I've got the wall here for this one, which is nice. So I'm doing a pyramid today, 20, 15, 12. There's nothing magical about any of those rep ranges. I just want to do a little bit of variety. Again, anything above 8 repetitions for a hypertrophy set is going to be fine, provided that you take it close to failure. Up next, we're going to do a seated hip abduction. So I actually skipped forward a couple of exercises just because I wanted to take a break from the cable. But speaking of exercise order, when it comes to hypertrophy, it actually matters much less than you think. So that's comforting to know if you're in a busy gym and you can't get access to the piece of machinery that you wanted to use because it was exercise number 1 or 2 on the list. You can skip forwards to the others and not have any worry that it's going to compromise your ability to grow the muscle that maybe you care about a little bit more. Ultimately, to achieve muscle growth, we want to be activating and fatiguing the muscle. So whether you do that exercise at the end or the beginning, what's likely to happen is that your overall load on a machine might end up coming down a little bit. But as long as you went close to failure, that's what matters the most. There are some benefits to keeping your compound exercises at the beginning of a session, just from a risk of injury standpoint. I still like to include all of my like multi-joint movements at the beginning just because I've usually got a bit more mental energy and I'm not fatigued. So, you know, I'm going to execute that movement without any core technique, which is often when we start to compromise compromise our lift and then potentially increase our risk of injury. So I'm going to jump in and do this exercise, and you'll notice I've got my trusty old pads with me again this week. So this is, you know, last week when I was at Crunch, I said that was one of the worst machines. This is by far the worst. So let's take a look at its range of motion. So I think it's actually put together incorrectly. So the start of the movement is here. So I have no lengthening through my glutes at all. So ideally, it would be tension in this position so that my glute medius is actually lengthened. So I can do a full range of motion, but we're starting here. So that's why I've got these pads. That's actually originally why we bought them, because I thought I would be training here quite a bit. So I'm gonna wedge those in there. I put the pad kind of just above my knee, and then I've got a little bit more range of motion, but still it's pretty limited in my opinion. So yeah, I would much rather prefer to be starting here. But then the foot placement, it's like my knees are like knobby kneed. My feet are out and my knees are in together. So it's not comfortable, but I can still get to failure. It's just, it's not as comfortable. So let's dive in. One of the things that is really important to recognize when you're using any machine like this for your glutes is as you do, I guess, the different angles, so whether you're doing forward leaning, tall, or seated back in the chair, you're going to need to adjust the load. When you're in that forward leaning position, and I might have mentioned this in my last video, but I know there's always new people coming to the channel. So you're leaning forwards, you're going to get a lot more recruitment of your glute max, that big muscle at the back, which means you should be stronger. So when I'm doing that forward leaning position, I'm probably going to be using close to the entire stack. But as I move into a tall upright position or then into that leaning back position, I'm going to be coming back down to some pretty light weights, because then I am just relying on, or at least I should be, that's the intention or the reason why we do that variation, is to just isolate the glute medius, which is a smaller muscle, so it probably shouldn't be as strong. there might be some unicorns out there that have strong equal glute max and medius, but I haven't met those people yet. If that's you, please comment on the video. But keep that in mind, just so that you're kind of setting yourself up for success when you kind of go through each of these different variations of a hip abduction. So the next exercise that we're going to do today is a crossover dumbbell step up. So there are so many different variations of step ups. I feel like I probably have about 50 in our exercise library. But the reason that I'm including this one is that it increases the glute activation. Obviously, my priorities right now are glutes, but if yours aren't, then you don't need to do this exercise variation. But basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up with a single dumbbell. I've got 40 pounds in my hand today. I don't know whether this is gonna be good or not, but we're going to find a nice flat, stable surface. I honestly don't like using the benches that often because they're a little squishy. So if you've got access to like a plyo box or something with a flat, hard surface, I would recommend using that and then having it positioned near to something that you can hold on to. I've done this one without the wall before, and it's fine, but it will definitely challenge you with your stability. So you're going to basically step back down over here and cross over. So I'm trying to keep constant tension on my glute here just to kind of help me get to failure a little more quickly. So there's a big stretch in my glute there. So it's a single leg exercise. So I usually program lower rep ranges for single leg just because it's so time consuming. I'll also use my Versa grips for this just to help because I can already feel like, look at the pump on my arm right now. This is training my forearms more than it's going to train my glutes at this point. So use your Versa grips if you've got wraps. You can also do this, you might find it more comfortable to have even weight by holding 2 dumbbells. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm doing a single arm variation in this program. Maybe the next one I'll use 2, but I'll have 2. And then that would actually give you something to counter the weight on this side. So to be honest, this exercise is a little harder because we've got the weight favoring one side. So the next exercise that we're going to be doing today, but we're not going to do it, was originally a dumbbell straddle squat pulse. So this exercise requires, at least for me, a decent amount of weight to effectively challenge my glutes and challenge my quads. And unfortunately, our gym doesn't have a whole lot of weight to work with. It stops at 50 pounds. I would probably want to go and grab like the 70s for this, just so that I don't have to do hundreds and hundreds of reps to get close to failure. So with that being said, and you might have the similar scenario if you're training at like a small hotel gym or something, or maybe your gym in your apartment complex like this one doesn't have a whole lot of weight, you can easily go in and substitute that movement. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to tap on the little back and forward arrows here. Let's try that again. Tap on the little arrows and it's going to bring up some swap exercise options. So there's a good number of options here, but I'm going to type in, just say I didn't immediately see something that I wanted. I'm going to put in a goblet. Let's hope I spell it correctly. Dumbbell pulse goblet squat. That was the original one, I think. Dumbbell goblet squat. There we go. Yeah, I did. I'm going to select swap exercise. And now I've got that new one ready to go. So I guess a couple of key differences between those two exercises is just how that exercise loads your body. So if I was to grab my giant kettle, whatever you want to call this, hammer, and I hold it here in this goblet position, I'm now actually transferring all of that load to my upper body. So I'm going to have to engage my core a lot more than what I would if I was just hanging that weight between my legs. It also, I guess, puts more of that load at the front of your body. So it's going to kind of pull you forwards. And as it gets heavier and heavier, it is kind of hard. So just a lot more stabilization than when you're letting it just kind of hang here. So subtle differences. Ultimately, you're still targeting your glutes and your quads with both exercises, which is why you can still go and sub out those movements. But it is important to realize like there are some subtle differences between exercises. The other thing that's also important to know, and you might have seen people like standing up on blocks and things like this, and I will just cringe when I see certain movements being done, because I'm like, what does the feet being elevated serve? So I'll point out that for any exercise where you're like holding onto a dumbbell like this, ultimately the floor is going to get in the way of your range of motion when you're using something large. So if I'm to come down and I'm hanging onto a big dumbbell, I'm going to hit the floor. And again, I might not even be at parallel yet. So that's why we stand up on 2 boxes or a weight plate or something like that stacked, so that you can effectively get down to that full range of motion. So that's the key difference. I've seen people put blocks and steps in. I'm like, you don't need it for that exercise. So for that one, that's why we do that. All right, so an easy way to, still getting my breath here, to get your weight into the goblet position is to start by kind of centering yourself over it, pop it up onto a bench, hopefully one that's like, I don't know, hip height, and just get down underneath it so that you can easily stand up. Super helpful. All right, so our next exercise is supposed to be a standing single leg hip abduction, but this gym does not have that piece of equipment. If you've got it, wonderful, but there are so many alternatives. So again, you can just go in, find an appropriate substitution. You'll see not only other banded exercises, cable exercises, machine exercises, plate loaded exercises. There's a bazillion ways you can target your glute medius, which is what this exercise is intended to do. So I'm actually going to use the cable again for a standing cable hip abduction. I'm going to be getting down into kind of that athletic stance again and kind of directing my, I guess, toes out to the side of me, maybe a slight angle. So instead of being parallel, I'm going to take it back just slightly. It just feels like a more natural movement path when I do it in this direction. So let's get strapped in. Exercise that was programmed was a seated hamstring curl. I'm actually going to sub that out because I don't have it, and I'm going to do a prone hamstring curl instead. I've actually opted for a slow eccentric hamstring curl just for some variety in my program. I feel like I've been doing regular hamstring curls now for a few weeks, kind of get bored of it. So I guess there's a lot of conversation about slow eccentrics and them being significantly more damaging. I guess one of the reasons why it is so is that when you are doing a slow eccentric, you're actually using fewer motor units to lower the same weight. So just as an example, if you're doing the concentric phase of the movement, you're going to be activating, say, 5 motor units. When you're lowering it down through that eccentric phase of the movement, you might only be using 3. So that is why you might feel a little more sore after having done a slow eccentric exercise. Okay, so we're done with lower body, finishing off on 3 shoulder exercises. So 2 of these are going to hit my lateral or medial shoulder, and then I'm also doing one for rear delt and then for my anterior shoulder as well. The way that they're written in this program is to do them just stay on one exercise, move to the next, stay on the next exercise, move to the next. But you can certainly superset or triset your exercises. If you care about maximum strength, then you want to rest for a good amount of time between every set if you're trying to see that number go up, which certainly has been something I've been excited about, in the history of my training. I used to love coming in and, seeing what my maximum strength was for a set of 10 or 12 or what have you. But when it comes to hypertrophy, that absolute volume number matters a little bit less, provided that you were taking the set close to or to failure. Even if your weight does come down, with subsequent sets, if you're taking short rest like we would expect to in a superset or a triset, you're not going to compromise your gains unless you end up getting so fatigued that your rep range starts to fall below, let's say 8 for good measure. So provided you can stay in that hypertrophy rep range, you're taking each set to or very near to failure, you're not going to be compromising muscle growth by doing a superset and resting for short periods of time. Okay, so that is it for our workout today. We are about to go down and have some lunch. It's getting a little late. It's like 4 p.m. But I'm going to bring you along and join me for that. I'm making some, I guess, homemade burgers. So I've got a couple of little secrets for how to make those healthy, high protein, and delicious. And then we'll do my physique update after we have some lunch. Okay, so we've just made it back to, I guess, my kitchen. It is so late, I'm so ready to eat. But I wanted to show you a recipe that I made very recently. Oh my God, this is why I have this, Jerry. My cats are obsessed with anything. They don't I don't know, get in there and put their face. Actually, that's not true, they totally do. But it's really hard to cook with cats. Anybody that has cats, I think you know my struggles, so this is a real tool. I wanted to show you a recipe that I made a couple of weeks ago now and loved it. Super simple, really high protein. So depending on whether you use like a regular burger bun or a wrap, the protein content will vary, but it's going to be somewhere between, I don't know, let's call it 38 to 45 grams of protein for this burger. And it'll be a relatively modest to low calorie content, considerably lower than what your average burger will be. And that's because I'm using a lean protein source and I'm using low fat, if I can help it, cheeses. But again, depending on what your preference is for cheese products and protein, these numbers could vary wildly. So I guess I can tell you what we're making. We're going to do a homemade burger. And I might also do a homemade wrap as well, just kind of using the same ingredients. So I've got this ground chicken. There is a better or a leaner version of this in the grocery store that is, oh, dude. This is going to go on for many attempts, I'm sure. There's a leaner version of this in the grocery store that is 99% fat-free. I'm looking at the 8% fat-free version. It's a small difference. This would matter more to me. I wouldn't buy this if I was on my final couple of weeks of a contest prep where every gram counts. But right now, I'm not prepping. I'm about to maybe start in the next week or two, so this is perfectly fine. There's also some really great beef products as well that you can get that are 96% fat-free. So I'll use the extra lean ground beef for burgers. There's also the 93% fat-free beef as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just break this up. So firstly, I'm just gonna weigh this out. Okay, so there's 430 grams in this packet. So we can basically make 4 burgers around 112 or 4 ounces each. So that's instantly 22 grams of protein if you were using this product. So we're already winning, folks. We're already ahead. So as far as what I'm going to put in here, let's go over and have a look in my pantry. Okay, so a couple of things, just a few. I should probably get salt as well. First off, a little bit of paprika. This is going to be like, I don't know, 5 or 6 shakes, probably not even half of a teaspoon. A few red chili flakes. I'm a chili fan, I'm a sun-dried tomato fan, I'm a pepper fan in general. So I'll use a few shakes of that. I've got black pepper. Now, I am going to be brave today, and I'm going to add a little bit of garlic and onion powder. I have IBS, and these are possibly the 2 most potent triggers of all of my symptoms, but I've been trying to work out like what my threshold is. Now I've had nothing else today that's a FODMAP, so hopefully my, I guess, stacking is very low, meaning I've had nothing that's going to cause any problems. So I might see if I can get away with like a few dashes of this. If you don't have IBS, then you probably don't have any issues. You can go ham as much as you like, probably a half teaspoon of each. A bit of salt goes in, get some cracked pepper. I'll go ahead and track all of this at the end just so that you guys have the macros, but I am not tracking macros at the moment. You can see I just do a little bit of mental math when I'm putting my meals together just to make sure I have an appropriate amount of protein. Yeah, that's all that I really care about. I want to make sure I've got sufficient calories in my off season. Paprika. I did put some chili powder just in there, so I'm going to go a little lighter with the chili flakes. These are actually, I love garlic and onion so much. It's so sad that I can't have it. Make sure that you've washed your hands, and we're just going to give this a good mix. So I'm going to do my own like breading. You could do this by using like tempura flakes, normal breadcrumbs from the grocery store. But again, I'm exploratory and I like to try new things. And the other day I used regular chips. Is that what you call them, Sam? Chris? Chips, like Lay's chips. What's another brand here? I don't know. I don't eat chips that often. Lay's is the popular brand. Okay, cool. I'm not wrong there. I used just chips the other day. I can't remember what the flavor were, but I pureed them in the food. Cheddar sour cream. There we go. Cheddar sour cream, Lay's chips last week, and it was awesome. So this time, actually, I'll go wash my hands first. I'm going to use the Quest chips. Let me do that.
Okay, so these are the 2 packets that I got. Nacho cheese. I think this is the flavor that Sam's more interested in, and then I also got this ranch one as well. Again, these are not necessarily things that are going to agree with my stomach very well, but I wanted to show you guys, and I'll just have to tolerate the discomfort afterwards. Okay, and I have just preset the air fryer to 390 degrees. We're going to cook these for just 10 to 12 minutes. Alrighty guys, so this is what we're starting with. Obviously perfect little patties. You can kind of flatten them down and push them into whatever shape you want. You can make your kids some dinosaur patties. You're really feeling like being creative. This would be a good way to get your kids high protein, by the way, if you are somebody listening that has children. Or maybe you're the child and you need to create yourself some fun shapes to make this exciting. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to take that and put these on parchment paper. Oh, I might have run out of space. We'll see. And we're going to take this over carefully. Oh no, I'm going to need another set of hands. There we go, paper. But now, I guess that's what we're working with. Straight back in. And then air fry, start. I can bring that time down. Thank you, Sam. That's perfect. Okay, I said 12 minutes, didn't I? 10 to 12. So we'll check them at about 10, but I'm going to set the timer up for 12. So let's wait and see.
So I am going to probably do one with these seeded brioche buns. I don't have the macros for these. Obviously, I'm not really fussed about the macros of these right now, but they're delicious. I have a feeling these have about 30 grams of carbohydrate apiece, which to me is a fantastic like pre-workout meal, if you ask me. But if you're looking to reduce your calories or just try an alternative, so starting with the lowest, I've got these Extreme Wellness. These ones are gluten-free. You can obviously get the regular ones. There's nothing magical about gluten-free. There are brands that have less than 20 grams of carbs, which is what these ones are. So I believe it could be the ones that say 0 across the packaging. Don't quote me on which brand it is, I can't remember. But you can get them for as few as like 11 grams of carbs. So you could do like mini versions of these with like a smaller little portion of meat for like hors d'oeuvres or just an appetizer, which would be fun. I also do like 3 of these for like a lunch dish or something. Going up, I guess, the ranks, this next one here is just the Great Value Walmart brand. These have 19 grams of carbohydrate per serve and 13 grams of dietary fiber, which I love. So if you're somebody that is struggling to find ways to get some fiber in your diet, this is another good product. Another great brand that I use, these are a little less, like, I guess, appealing when it comes to their texture. So this is the Joseph's Pita Breads. Each one of these has 9 grams of carbohydrate and 2 grams of dietary fiber. I like to use these for like pizzas and things like that. But again, you could do something like this. You could make like a pita wrap with this, make strips of chicken as opposed to patties. And you could do some kind of like roll up. But this is a great product that I'll use a lot of when I am competing, just because it's low carb. And then we go to the real deal. This is probably what the average person is using when they go to the store and they're not looking for a light product. So whilst they are super tasty, this also has double the amount of carbohydrate. This has 34 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fat. So there is very little fiber. Sorry, did I say fat? I meant fiber. So very low fiber. So these aren't something that I think are like high nutritional value, but they're an option if you just want simple carbohydrate. I don't know whether I'll use those today, but they are obviously just the larger size. And if you have a bigger appetite, perhaps this is the choice for you. So there are the different options. I think I also have some brioche bread over here. This is probably my favorite. So one slice will get you 20 grams of carbs, 240. You'd get 6 grams of protein if you had 2 slices of brioche. You'd get 6 grams of fat. So the protein to fat ratio is identical in this. I still use this during prep and just as an everyday product, but I probably use it less frequently than I do like a seeded bread or something like that, which is what I would typically have for like a sandwich during the day. Over to the condiments and the cheese. So obviously this is an area where there's potential for really high protein and low calories, or it could go the exact opposite way and you find yourself where you're not eating a whole lot of protein, you're just getting a bunch of fat and saturated fat because it's an animal-based product. So I guess I'll go through the ranks or the rankings when it comes to all of the cheese products that we've got here. So when I am in the thick of prep, the products that I use the most are this light Laughing Cow cheese. One wedge only has 1.5 grams of fat, 2 grams of protein, and 1 gram of carbohydrate. So that's a really good product if you don't want to use like a regular cream cheese. The next product, I guess in terms of its low calorie density, would be Borden fat-free singles. So this has obviously 0 grams of fat, 4 grams of protein, 3 grams of carbohydrate. I use this a lot in sandwiches, any wraps. If I'm trying to make it like a cheesier sauce, I might throw something like this in so it melts down, adds a little bit of protein, but without all of the additional animal saturated fat of a regular cheese. I've also got a couple of other options here. This is a skim or part skim block of mozzarella, but we jump up to 6 grams of fat for a 28 gram serving. I believe these are all similar. This is a whipped cream cheese spread. I love this, but this one has 4.5 grams of fat for a small and 20 gram serving. I only use about that amount on a sandwich, so it's not too bad right now, but I'd probably do away with this as I was moving into a competition prep. And then I've got this light cream cheese, also great value. And that one is 5 grams of fat for a 32 gram serving. So all kind of similar in the ballpark with the obvious exclusion for lights. Sliced cheese. Let's pop over here. We have a Colby Jack, which is 1 slice left. I love this stuff, but it's 7 grams of fat, 4.5 of which is saturated. So again, if we're thinking about saturated fats in your diet, you want to keep this well below like 10% of your total daily energy intake. In fact, 7% is probably a good number to work towards if you're trying to watch your saturated fat intake to help with your cholesterol. And then Gouda, 6 grams of fat as well, 4 grams of saturated, but there are 4 grams of protein in here. So I guess you get the good with the bad in this particular case. So I don't know which ones I'm going to use on the burger yet. We'll soon find out. Okay, we're going to add eggs as well, just for an extra protein source. And then condiments. I've got, again, a bunch of different mayonnaises over here. Obviously, you can't have a burger without some kind of sauce. And I think I'm missing Sam's favorite, the mayo must. This is his favorite product, and it's probably my favorite product too, in terms of its taste. But for a 30 gram serving, it has 17 grams of fat. That is half of my daily intake of fat when I'm prepping in a 30 gram little squeeze on my palm. So this is probably something that's going to go out the window. Regular mayonnaise. This stuff is just, whew, it's stacked. It's not as bad as the mayo must. This one has 12 grams of fat, not bad. Again, similar portion size. This is another, it's Berman's Real Mayonnaise. This one has 10 grams of fat, so they've actually come down. But maybe this one's like still getting the nice creamy flavor. I won't be using those today. I've actually got 2 alternatives in another product. Miracle Whip. This is a light mayonnaise. I don't think that it tastes similar, but it does the job in keeping like something lubricated. You've got a little bit of like moisture. You're not just having dry bread and meat. It kind of, it cuts down the middle. So this is a prep only food for me. I don't really use this when I'm just going through my normal day-to-day life, but 1.5 grams of fat is the total for a similar, actually I take that back. For a same serving size, it'd be 3 grams of fat, so substantially lower. And then the other option that we've got in our refrigerator, obviously I've got all the mayos for all the seasons. This is light mayonnaise. This one is 3.5. Oh, and this would be 7 grams of fat for the similar serving. So we've kind of gone down, I guess in their fat content. The last one isn't mayonnaise, but this is also something that you could potentially add to a burger if you want some flavor. I've got the Bolt House brand. This is cilantro avocado. They have Caesar salad, they have ranch, they have so many different flavors. And these are only 3.5 grams of fat for a 30 gram serving. So again, this would probably be something I'd opt for in the middle of a prep. Also a great salad dressing. And so I've just pulled them out of the air fryer. I might have let them in there for maybe a minute or two too long as I was talking, but yeah, this is what they come out looking like. They're a little bit, obviously the bottom's not getting flipped, so I should have done that. My bad. Probably flip them at the halfway point if you want an evenly cooked burger. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. And now I'm excited to taste them. So let's get putting this burger together. Okay, we'll start with the burger first. Sorry. I'm gonna guess Sam wants mayo must. Next, I will go the cheese. Sam's gonna opt for the Gouda cheese. All right, guys, I don't know which one to go for first. All right, we'll take a bite of each. So I just used another skewer, obviously, to keep this all together. I think when you've got a stacked burger like this, but I mean, look at that bad boy. I can really taste the nacho cheese flavoring. That's so good. Okay. If I was going to give it a score out of 10, I mean, it has some really good burgers, so this is going to be tough. I'd probably give it like a 7.8, just because I know I made it. Like, you always rate your own stuff a little worse, right? Okay, trading it over. Let's go for the wrap. So this is the ranch, the ranch flavored one. Okay, I can get a big bite of that. That's the bite I'm going for. I like that way better. This reminds me of nachos. As it should. Nacho cheese was the flavor of the chip. This works really well as a burger. Obviously it's in a wrap, but I'd give this an 8.2. So slightly better. I like it, guys. It's been ages since I have done my posing. I think probably a week after my actual show finished. I think I did one physique update. I think for anyone that's planning on competing, get in the habit of wearing the shoes that you're actually going to be on stage with. I see gals all the time wearing like just their dress heels or like, I don't know, something that looks cool. But ultimately, if you're not somebody that wears heels all the time, you want to get really comfortable wearing your show heels. Starting physique, I am probably, like, I think we said 13 weeks if I started prep tomorrow, and I have 6 pounds to lose. So that's it for today. I hope that you found today's video interesting, educational, and just enjoying to watch. But if you've got any questions at all about your own training or your nutrition, or you've got questions for me about my upcoming competition season, please, by all means, drop me a comment below. I would love to hear from you guys. And if there is anything that you would like to see during a prep that I haven't done in the past, because usually I'm just sitting in front of my computer talking about all of my data, please also let me know. Ultimately, the only reason that I'm recording this journey is to help you guys improve your own, I guess, physique goals and your health goals. So yeah, the more insight from you I have, the better. So with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in. Please make sure that you check out all of our products and services over on our website. All the links are, I guess, below. And subscribe to my channel. See you next time, guys.